Well, welcome back, Pete. Another episode of Two Sides of the Table. How have you been?
I've been fantastic, Kayla, and always better to be on the other side of the table and back in the studio with you.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what have you been up to lately?
Yeah, I mean, we are recording quite succinctly at the moment. We're in every week by the sounds of things. So it's not a lot is sort of happening between our recording sessions. But I think one of the things I did get around to doing the other day was actually, well, first of all, we have finished our new office. So we're finally moved in. We did a full team day yesterday for the first time, which was really exciting for us. Lots of kinks in the road, of course, with that type of stuff, monitors that needed to come back in and, setting up laptop stands and things like that. So that was fun. But I actually got around to listening to a podcast episode. Now, I can't remember the name of the podcast itself, but it's run by Frank Grief. He sold his software business probably a couple of years ago now for $180 million, exited that business. But he's now starting another AI driven business. And he did an episode with Janae Ellis, who's a bit of a entrepreneurial sort of queen in Australia, obviously founder of Boost Juice and now Betty's Burgers. So she did an episode with him and it is exceptional. The things that they cover when it comes to being a business owner, going down that entrepreneurship road, it was excellent. So I highly recommend that to anyone looking for another podcast to listen to. Obviously, Two Sides of the Table is the best one, but next in line I'd recommend that one. But what about you, Pete? Traveling again?
Yeah, but talking about offices, I can actually talk about this because this podcast won't come out for a few weeks because we've been going through that same challenge. We've just opened our Candy office.
Woo-hoo.
Well, officially it will be on the 23rd of September. So we've been going through all of that with custom fit outs and that sort of goodness. So looking forward to getting across there and lighting the traditional oil lamp and cutting the ribbon on that. But I've just started reading a book called Onboarding Matters. And I think one of the things is the psychology about how do you make sure that you're really delighting a customer from day one, because there's definitely that neural psychology about setting the bar high and creating a great experience to then help reduce churn over the longer term. So I got a chapter through that last night on the plane back from Sydney, and it was really, really insightful. And I think it's really important to just constantly revisit that. And one of the terminologies I came across while I was at the HubSpot event is not thinking about onboarding, but thinking about everboarding, because it just doesn't stop when you've onboarded a customer. You need to continue to be able to focus on skilling and training them up as things change, and that onboarding experience being through the entire customer life cycle and customer journey.
I love that. Let's put that in the bank for an episode that we need to do later on and talking about the onboarding experience, because I think that's very relevant to our industry.
100%.
Awesome. Well, once again, we are joined by another wonderful guest, and I'm excited about this one. We are welcoming Darren Rath, founder of Corp IT, to the podcast today. So Darren is a natural conversationalist, a bit eccentric in the best way, and someone who's built a reputation for bringing energy and fresh thinking into the MSP space. He's been driving Corp IT forward with a focus on helping businesses to stay secure, agile, and ahead of the curve. Outside of tech, Darren is a big lover of car racing, loves a good chat, and brings the same sense of speed, risk-taking, and fun into the business that he now leads and grows. We're excited to dive into his journey. Darren, welcome to Two Sides of the Table.
Thank you, and it's great to be here.
Fabulous. Well, take us back to the beginning and talk to us about Corp IT. What's the evolution that you've been on as a business?
Yeah, thank you. And yes, I am a racing fanatic, and I'm prepping to go racing this weekend and hill climb the open wheel car. So been in the shed till about midnight last night. That's been great.
Fabulous.
And where we started back as a retail business in 1999. And myself and two Kiwi guys, we were working at a firm that unfortunately went belly up.
Yeah, wow.
So we decided we could do a better job. And we became a company called PC Easy, leveraging off the Video Easy of the name of the day and all those sort of guerrilla marketing tactics. Employ Richard Branson's just be a little bit further around the corner or across the road to get a cheaper rent. So we rented a shop diagonally opposite from the Westfield Chermside car park. Did all those great things. It was great. So retail, we were famous for having high performance computing. And we had a company or a PC called The Beast. And the beast was $24.95 and an ultimate gaming computer in an industry that was $1,000 for the average box at the time. So we were 2.5 times the average sale, and they were 80% of our sales. So we've always been that value add is what I'm trying to get to there. About 2005, our BDM at the time, we realised that the market in retail was really going in a very different direction, probably like the MSP is today. And we're at a bit of a pivoting point. So we found this thing called MSP in 2005. And we bought a model of a guy from Dubbo, of all things.
Wow. So an existing business?
No, he was promoting the MSP service contracts and promoting MSP as a type of business. It was unknown to us. So we went out there, and from day one, we lucked into providing managed services. And because of my anxiety and my background around that and some of my eccentricity, as you said, we went and we've never, ever provided break-fix services. It's always been monthly recurring, which gives you a great foundation to build from.
Yeah, wow.
What an amazing story. And I think the fact that you've never done break fix is actually quite unusual, because I think for many of our listeners, they've probably gone on that same journey. Many of them might have started the local computer shop. So, whether that was in Wangaratta or whether that was in Orange or whether that was in Chermside. And, that PC shop was often actually not only selling PCs, but then fixing those PCs as well, whether that was, viruses or the operating system not working, especially back in those classic Windows 95 days. But the fact that you discovered that recurring revenue so early, I think, is amazing, because, I know that in the early days there were a few people talking about that, especially some of the founders now of, the ConnectWise program and things like that were very early advocates. But, what an amazing journey.
And thank you, Pete. And, born from the ups and downs of cash flow in a retail business. And yeah, I think that, I did 2/3 of a marketing and commerce degree, and that's another story for another time. But, looked at what good business looked like and found out that long-term sustainable business was 20% EBITDA and built on recurring revenue. So there was a foundation piece that went with it. It took some confidence. And it definitely took an approach of adding more value to the conversation than keeping the lights on. So we've been doing a lot more than keeping the lights on for some time.
That's really good. And is it different to the vision that you had when you started the business? Like, did you just think you'd be a retail, because that, it was 6 years between when you started the business and then you moved into that MSP model. When you started the business, did you think that it was going to move into an MSP model?
Always had a vision to go B2B or business to business. Always had that vision and how we got into that space and what it looked like. How we landed there was when we were doing Windows reinstalls for our retail clients, we always strive to add massive value. So instead of just a $99 Windows reinstall, we charged $349 to install Windows because it was high performance installation, customized for every single client that walked in, very bespoke.
Yeah.
So instead of the experience being throw Windows on, lost all your data, lost all your contacts, lost all of your links on your search engines, etc., we gave them that whole experience where we loaded Windows and we did it in a bespoke method and put on all of the right drivers, got the right compatibility so the system's flying, got rid of all the bloatware, and then we make sure that the Windows, when the operating system came back, all of their data was there. So that value add and creating that raving fan, Pete, as you talked about everboarding, I just realised we've been doing that from that journey too.
Yeah. And the business has evolved a little bit over, say from 2005, let's call it, because that's when you started doing that MSP model. You brought in a partner during that time, and in recent times you've brought in a GM so that you can be a little bit more hands-off with the operations and more in, I suppose, the sales component. Talk to us about that and the motivations that you had around those moves.
Yeah, well, thank you. Desperation's a great motivator, isn't it? Let's be honest. Desperation's a great motivator. There's been some great milestones, and I think that 13 years ago, please don't crucify me, Jai. It was around then when he came in. And Jai D'Ameto came in as our technical lead. And it's interesting, when we sold some equity to Jai and became a business partner, I was asked by several people, including the accountants at the time, why are you doing this? Because 1 + 1 made 3.
Yeah.
And to this day, it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Yeah.
He does technical excellence, I do sales and marketing, and it works really, really well. You know, we went on the journey from there, and basically the journey was that 2, 5, 7, 10 revenue milestones. We didn't realise what they were. We had no idea, but we hit them, and they ran into us like a brick wall. And so, for example, how Glenn turned up in the business was
And Glenn's the GM.
Glenn Noyce, our GM.
Yep.
Yes, thank you. 7, 8 years ago, we got to the point of about 2 million rev, and we went on sales hold. Now, I used to be very proud of being on sales hold for 5 years, and we're a little bit reticent these days, to say the least. We're 7, 8 years behind in our marketing journey, but that's okay.
I'm watching Pete go very uncomfortable right now.
You know what was interesting?
Not selling. Yeah,
I know, right? Well, but here's the thing. We still doubled the business in that time because we create raving fans one by one of our business, because we are ever boarding and we are ever strategic and trying to get better value conversation with our clients continually. And so what had happened is we did double the value, we did double the revenue in the business, but Jai went to PAX 8 over in Denver, and we picked up a global award for automation and billing automation that actually PAX 8 took to their global marketplace and provided Microsoft automated billing. So Jai came back, and we'd realised that we were trying to be perfect. So how about do we have to be perfect to actually scale, sell, go to market? Realised, no, we don't. The other beautiful pivotal point that happened at that time was ConnectWise, IT Nation, and Evolve. We were recommended by the Australian MSPs that were over there, and that was a stunning, stunning move. Absolutely like drinking from a fire hose. We've been doing that for 3 years now. It's great. Had a really good journey through Evolve. It really helped us to understand and learn just how muscle and feel we are.
And I love the way that you're so open about it. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect, because I think so many of us are really focused on, you know, getting everything to be 100% right. But I think every business goes on journeys, and it's that sort of, you know, the 1 million, the 3 million, the 5 million, 10 million. They're challenges and they're brick walls that often organisations run into. And I think one of the ways that you've done that is identify those challenges and bring in other people to help solve the problem. Because I think all too often, and I'm guilty of it just as myself as a business owner, is just trying to do everything myself and realising that there's others that have got superpower outside of that. But one of the words I love that you've used a number of times through describing the business is value. And I think that's really what creates opportunity with customers, is when they see value, because you're not talking about price at that point in time. You're talking about what a customer perceives. Now, what does value mean to you when you're talking about from an MSP perspective?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, and thank you. That's a good pickup. You know, value, if people are talking price, they're not seeing value. And I think that value means an enormous number of things in our business and our delivery. Value with not only clients, and we look to client partnerships, but value for vendor partnerships is as important to us. And really, a value conversation can be simply listening. What do you need? What do you need in your business? How do we help? You know, what challenges do you have in your business that aren't even tech? And I think that, you know, a lot of people, for example, hide away from QBRs. We love them. It's such an opportunity to connect and talk to the various people in the businesses. And I think value is different for each client. But, you know, traditionally, if you go up a little bit higher in this, if you've got a strategic engagement with your clients, if you're helping them to understand the tech landscape that we're in today, whether that be cloud enablement, whether that be now cybersecurity, what does AI adoption mean? What does automation mean? It's being able to have a simple and demystifying conversation with people, to give them a 3-year strategic roadmap, to investigate and interrogate that every 3 months, and that delivers their business plan. That would be the way that we see value, is actually going. And, you know, we recently onboarded a client, and here's a great, I love to hear a couple of words, and we strive for this to be the words we hear, because we know we've hit the button on onboarding on the right head. And it's a thank God you're here moment. We recently onboarded a client out of Sydney, and they're 300 people and a significant business. And the director of IT turned around and said, "Thank God you're here." mattered those exact words. So that's reinforcing that we are delivering good value.
Yeah. I think it's giving people your time as well. Like you saying that QBR opportunity to speak to the customer and get in front of the customer. I think there's real value in that as well, is giving people your time. And it's not just I'm going to fix everything when it breaks. It's actually, I'm a strategic partner in your business.
It's finding time and headspace to do that. You know, we all get caught, we all focus, like you said, Pete, we want to do it all ourselves. We want to do business as usual is the common term that we use. It's a service desk. It's all those things. There's so much noise every day in the business, whether you're selling, growing, no matter what you're doing and what your strategy is, there's so much noise. Take a breath, take some time, be in front of your clients and have a good conversation.
And I think it's interesting. Look, there's a number of playbooks out there today in the MSP community. Like, it doesn't matter, what side of the fence you're on, whether that's, True Peer or whether they're Pax8 peer groups or, many of the other, even, Tech Tribe. There's all sorts of different platforms. And I think one of the challenges is many are trying to follow the exact same playbook. And, this almost creates this vanilla approach where everyone's a vanilla flavour. There's nothing that really differentiates them. But it almost sometimes feels to me that technology businesses don't want to talk to their customers. They want to sit behind that service desk and that ticket and just not have the conversation. And I think often that playbook is about how do we go and get as many customers as we can. Like, let's go and get hundreds of customers and be able to then grow and scale. But I think your playbook's very different, is because you've been able to successfully scale and grow the business with, really customers that you could count on your hands and toes.
Yeah, thank you. And that it has been a concentrated effort. We go strategically deep with all of our customers by design and by purpose. And if we have a transactional customer, we move them on. We can't be transactional at the level that we engage. And typically, if they see us as a cost on the P&L, we typically look to, well, let's help you offboard to somewhere else. And I think that's really important as we go forward with this whole AI automation conversation coming that's in our industry that can be a disruptor to our business is, well, how does that work in this MSP space? What are we doing with that? And getting caught up in business as usual, again, is a problem. You really need to be in front of those clients and talking and seeing what's working for them and what they need help with. You've got to have a client have that conversation 7 times for the client to actually hear it. And we're having troubles with people listening and hearing our cyber chat. But I think if you're adding value and coming back and circling that, what is our biggest challenge in our business? And our biggest challenge in our business is our people. Jim Collins said it really, really well. Love his book, Good to Great. Huge fan. And his method of delivering value, right people, right seats, that's at the core of who we've always been. Whether we were subconsciously knowing it or not, we've always invested heavily in our people to have the right people in the right seats.
And I think that's key, is because one of the things that your business has clearly done is evolve through various different changes. And I think, many organisations are still stuck in the service desk model of 12 years ago, where, that's what customers were really wanting, is that insurance policy. So if the SBS server wasn't running on a Monday morning or the printer wasn't working, that they would have this trusted person that they could call on. The reality is most organisations don't even have a printer these days, and they certainly don't have an SBS server. But it sounds like you're already thinking about what that next model and that modern MSP looks like with AI. And tell me what that means to you for both internally, but also to your customers when you start to think about AI.
Great question. I think demystify AI.
True.
People are very concerned about what AI means. You pour AI over the cybersecurity threats and compliance and governance people are trying to achieve, and then put AI over that, and there's a lot of worried people that are out there. And I think that what it means for us, the skinny version would be the low-hanging fruit on the service desk will become AI ops. Identify, predict, and fix. Instead of coming in Monday morning and a raft of alerts, the old SBS server, what a classic. That was one of those classic versions of so many problems Monday morning. That's going to be handled by AI. And I think if you got your business in the right way, I see what's coming is it's like cloud enabling your clients. If you want to have an AI discussion and a digital transformation discussion and lead that value with your clients, they've got to have their IT platform sorted out. Can't be tin on site. Got to be cloud enabled. Got to have identity and all these things sorted out so that if you're going to put an AI lens and automation across something, you've got to have the data set in the right place in the first place. So I think that if you take that position and go, okay, if we are digitally transforming businesses and we're leading them from a consultative method, forget the service desk. We've been looking now at automation for 18 months. And okay, there's several brands out there, and I don't know if we talk brands in here, but go and look at them. If you're not looking at these, please go and start having a look, because the level of engineering that it takes to automate even simple processes, triaging. We got 400 lines of code to triage and capture sentiment, and we only got it half right. It created chaos in the business. And I think that this is where AI is heading, is AI will drive these outcomes that will automate help desk and service desk. AI is still an assistive technology. And if you can look at AI and how it's working, even delivered managed security and managed compliance, it's coming. You look at where these things are headed to, get AI to do the heavy lifting for you. You've got to have a helicopter perspective, get 20,000 feet up and look down. Where are we headed? Because you can end up in the quagmire of service desk and stay there.
It's a strategic conversation, is what you're
internal and external.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love the approach that you take in regards to how you think about that, but how you're really trying to educate and take your customers on that journey as well. And I think one of the things that is quite interesting from my perspective is the way that you engage with customers, but also the way that you're very open in the broader community as well. And I think one of the things that you're open about is the neurodiversity as well. And one of the things that many people don't realise is that 12% of the population has neurodiversity, and I think there's a high concentration that in the IT space, especially with that. So and especially many people that are being diagnosed at an adult level. And so do you see that as a superpower that you've got, and why you start to think a little bit differently about how you engage with customers?
Yeah, whole nother conversation. And I'm very loud and proud to say ADHD.
Yeah.
I am not diagnosed.
Yeah.
I am self-diagnosed. My son actually diagnosed me.
Yeah, talk us about that story.
Yeah,
'Cause it's quite interesting.
It is interesting, isn't it? Because his now wife, was diagnosed. And then James became self-diagnosed, and came to his dad and looking for leadership from me. And when put a box or a name on you, mate, that's rubbish. Get on with life. Blah blah blah. And he kept coming at me for 2 years to let me know. And so I went, well, we need to research this. So we started doing some research and tripped over the book called ADHD 2.0, if you want to have a look, written by the two psychiatrists who brought the term ADD and ADHD to the world 30 years ago. So it's got a whole lot of credence to it. Rang my wife listening to this on Audible in the first 5 minutes and went, oh my goodness, I understand my son for the first time in 25 years. And then we kept bringing each other backwards and forwards, where I apologised to my wife because there's 3 in her family. That's not her, and she collapsed at 9 o'clock at night on the lounge. Because she's got 3 of us. So fast forward, Pete, is it a superpower? Absolutely. Did I know I have it? No, I did not know.
Until recently.
Until about 3 years ago. And then I looked at it from that lens and went, no wonder I can do so much. No wonder I can do all those things and people can't keep up. As a visionary in the business, I'm like a Catherine wheel. I'll have 100 divergent thoughts and ideas and visions. That can be in 5 minutes. Luckily, I've got a great GM in Glenn who can rein me in and go, we're looking at that one, Darren.
Yeah.
So it's great. I think it's brilliant. And coming out, if you want to call it that, has been amazing to talk to people and be open about it, and the impact it's had on a number of people in our industry.
Have you been surprised at how many people have gone, oh yeah, me too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and then surprisingly, this is another interesting one. A great friend who'd known me from high school, And first form in high school, so what's that, 13 years of age? Laughed for 5 minutes solid when I divulged to them ADHD. And he said, how didn't you know? Because it's my normal.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think when you start to look at the concentration, especially in entrepreneurs, about the number of entrepreneurs that have, neurodiversity or ADHD, that level is really high. And I think you put on a really interesting thread is because often the entrepreneurs or the founders of the business are the big picture thinking people. They've got all the ideas. They've got, wouldn't it be great if we did? But then they're not really particularly good at, taking those and executing and delivering on those and getting that operational excellence. And I think, you're obviously running EOS and, big fan of that. And I know a number of our listeners are running EOS. And it's then, back to the Jim Collins, making sure that you've got the right people in those right roles. And, clearly Glenn is your implementer inside of the EOS from what you've described.
Oh, thank you. And hello, Glenn Loyce, if you're listening.
He will be.
He will be. Oh, he's fantastic. And it enables not only me, but also Jai from the technical sense as well. And Jai and I got to the point 2.5 years ago where you do that quadrant thing. And we were turning up to work and 80% of our day was the things in our hate column for both of us. And we'd had enough. We need a general manager. So luckily Glenn's came on board, went through a process to that, and he's been absolutely stunning. And his ability just to focus the executive, not just me, which I'm the lunatic, obviously, but get everyone moving in the one direction is absolutely stunning, and it's paid enormous dividends. And then what really helped us is Glenn was really great coming in. It was Jai and I and Gareth Dodds, who's also been with us for 18 years, our service delivery manager, another stunning guy. We had to catch up to understand how to put an operating system together. We were so disparate. We were so solid and so one lane. The power of getting in the one bus and driving in the one direction is insanely incredible.
Can I pull on this a little bit more? How do you think it's affected your ability or empowered your ability to make decisions around strategy and managing people in particular?
Well, the good part is I don't manage people.
Okay.
That's the first good part.
Yeah.
Glenn loves HR.
Okay.
And I enjoy it, but after 25 years in the one business, sometimes with all due respect to everybody out there, it can feel a little bit like herding cats. Okay, but Glenn's great. And so Glenn will take a wonderful approach, and we've empowered Glenn to totally run the org chart or accountability chart, whatever you want to call it, and create the framework of what right seats look like. So that's really important that we allow him and get him into doing that space.
Do you think you overthought decisions before he came on board?
Oh, massively.
Yeah.
Not only did we overthink, but the power of the integrator, the power of a GM is really to bring calm.
Yeah, I love that.
Because he removes emotion. And he now talks to me. I am highly emotional, as you probably both are very aware.
I think most entrepreneurs are.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
It's the roller coaster that you ride. You're on the
Yeah.
top of the world one day because you've signed a new customer, and then you're at the bottom of the world the next day because one of your team members have resigned, and you sort of live and die by this emotional ups and downs.
But I also think it comes down to passion, right? Like we talk about this all the time. No one's as passionate about your business as you are. Like no one's going to drive it forward as much as, you are. Like no one's going to press that sales button as hard as you are. You are, that in itself is an emotion, I think, and an emotive action to drive a business forward.
And that's interesting because one of our passions, or one of our cultural values up on the wall is passionate. That's the first one. And I think we're very passionate as an executive. Glenn is extremely passionate as well. So are all of us. And so that bleeds then into everybody else in the organisation. So we do have a high-performance team.
Yeah.
We do have a passionate team that really do care.
Yeah.
They get really upset if service quality drops and dips.
And you would have employed those people based on that.
Well, based on many things, including neurodivergence.
Okay, there you go. Little hint into the Corp IT office right there.
And subconsciously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all do that when we hire, is we hire people that are like us. And over time, sometimes you need to bring additional diversity in. And I remember the early days in the Warty business, where I was to look around, everyone looked like me. And, as a result, the business goes down a particular direction. So by bringing in, different genders and different ethnicities and people that have come from different backgrounds allows you to then have, that thinking that rather than what becomes often a group think. And I think one of the things that you've done with your team is recognise their own strengths and superpowers. And I think one of the things we've started to see play out across the Founder series over the last few podcasts is people recognising that they need to then work out what they're good at. Because when you first start, you do everything.
Yeah.
You send the invoices, you're writing the marketing newsletter, you're writing the proposals, and then you're going and doing the install and everything else in between. But the reality is no one is good at all of those things. You might think you are, but there's a reality there. And I think one of the things I'm loving hearing is how you've identified, even the joke about, I'm not good at HR, get somebody else to do that. It allows you to focus on what your passion is and be able to focus that energy. And I think that's a really good takeaway for all of our listeners to think about is, what is it that drives you and gets you excited about the business? Because, that's where burnout often comes through, is when people are doing things that they're not energetic about and that they don't care and are passionate about. And, tell me through that journey, like how have you shaped that business and how have you shaped the people in that to deliver on that?
Well, interesting, because I think the first thing we identified, and this was a whole colliding number of milestones and things that happened where Jai came in, Glenn came in, EOS, peer groups, all of this sort of came in and all at once, and we drank from that fountain rapidly and gulped in big time.
Just do it all at once,
Just
basically.
do it. Well, yeah. Have you heard of me before? My superpower, just get on with it. And I think there's a couple of interesting things. First of all, you got to learn to let go. And we are still struggling with that as an executive at an SLT on learning how to let go. It's really, really, really hard. The great part is you've got to build that trust. And whether it's your clients, whether it's your staff, whether it's your executive team, you've got to be able to have trust. And you think you've got good trust, you need to test it. You need to check it and test it. And then, only then can you start to have the really robust conversations you absolutely need to have.
And I think some of that's about empowering others. And that's a key part, but also preparing to let people fail as well, because that's the learning experience. And I think for those that haven't listened to Boss or Babysitter, which is, a talk that's often done at many tech conferences around, it's often about how you, as a business owner, I'll just do it myself because it's easier to do it that way rather than empowering somebody else. And then you end up creating this babysitter style culture rather than a boss culture. So, enabling somebody to do it, but providing them the feedback around that. And I think that's one of the challenges that many IT leaders face, is not being able to provide good feedback. So empower the team member, give them that feedback. And it sounds like you've got a really good culture for providing that feedback mechanism.
Yeah, interesting you say that. And from the outside looking in, we do. We're a lot more harder on ourselves and we've got a lot of improvement to go. One of the great gifts is Jai, our business partner, is going on a sabbatical. And that has meant looking at key man risk. We have had a huge babysitter culture in our business. We had no idea until you start to look at it. We now have 60 line items on our tech stack. 60 different tech items that we need a SME or subject matter expert in. So we've now gone back and talk about enabling and empowering. We did all those things and got into the team and who wants to do and let's get excited? Crickets. So we started voluntelling people.
Voluntelling. I love that.
Voluntelling. It's great. Take it on board. But look, we're evolving that. So we now have a spreadsheet. We've got an SMO 0, 1 and 2. So we're getting 3 people across. So Jai, being our technical excellence leader, is usually ground 0, SME 0. But now we've got other 3 people in the business organisation that will now become SME level 1. And they're our project and our level 3, high-level engineers who've been with us for long, long times. Now then you'd have SME 2 on the help desk. And that's how you enable them in the tech stack. We also enable people. We've got a service catalogue on how we deliver our SLA. And we said to them, who knows we've got an SLA and how it works? Again, crickets. And we thought we'd done a great job of cascading that message. So we went back and said, okay, let's look at this. Traditional SLA delivery is this. Here's a cyber delivery. Here's an Essential 8 delivery. And so all of a sudden they start to align what they're doing on the help desk day to day. They can lift their head up a bit and start to understand, oh, there's more to this, and that's empowerment. And I think the other part to this really would be understanding that we are managing people instead of leading people. You know, and Simon Sinek, loves Simon Sinek and his why, huge advocate to Simon and his why. Why are people doing what they're doing? You know, a manager will tell, a leader will ask and guide and empower. So we're trying to build leadership in the team. We're trying to build leadership across the service desk. We're trying to build leadership across project, and it's hard. People will only ever operate at best 80% of what we can operate at. You've got to let go. You've got to get out the way. Yeah. And like you do with your kids, you've got to let them fail and see the train coming, and you can't get them out the way. They've got to go through the pain.
Yeah, and I think that's really important for people to think about is that, you know, building culture is about what people do when no one else is looking, when no one else is in the room, the way that they act, the way that they behave. And, you know, every organisation's got their own rituals and cadences that make them unique, and it's being able to then replicate that and sort of tie back to, you know, we spoke about, you know, onboarding and everboarding of customers. It sounds like what you're also doing is everboarding your team members as well, because I always think that, you know, you're trying to implant that chip in the first couple of weeks when a new team member comes in, but you don't really think about that beyond that. But it sounds like you've built that into the DNA of the culture where, you know, it's not just the initial onboarding of the team member, but you're focused on everboarding them and bringing them through the change of the business.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, there's a range of mechanisms that we use to cascade and do that. Glenn, again, with his HR hat on, those monthly one-on-ones, and where are you up to, where you're headed, where you're moving to, that's been an absolute game changer. And you do these things with conviction. You don't do them just to tick the box.
Tick a box, yeah.
And if you're ticking the box, don't waste the time in the first place. You know, and walking around, inspect what you expect. There was a great book in the 80s. I'm old enough to remember and be back in the 80s. And, you know, Management by Walking Around was a book that came out in the mid to late 80s. It just was a game changer. You know, you don't sit in your ivory tower, you walk around. Fast forward 40 years, and that babysitter culture, you know, is there, and then people aren't inspecting what they expect. They're not talking and cascading messages. So quarterly, we'll have a company note, and we'll sit down and walk everyone through the strategy. Where are we? What are we doing? What's important? And do they have numbers? Like, our guys have some very simple KPIs. You know, they have a 10-6-2 number. 10 tickets, record 6 hours, and have 2 positive CSATs per month. And if you achieve those things, then you've got a great culture on the service that's delivering really, really well. And I think these are the ways that you empower your people.
I love that simplification and just how easy it is to know what success looks like. I think it's very easy to throw lots of metrics and lots of KPIs and, you know, really not know what success looks like for you as an individual team member and how you contribute to that bigger picture. So I think that simplification is really powerful. Is that EOS that's driven that for you, do you think?
Yeah. We had our EOS implemented. We graduated in 12 months. And our third quarter, our EOS implementer turned around and said, does everyone in the business know their number? Yeah, of course they do. Rah, of course they do. And they had no idea. Absolutely no idea. The SLT, who was meeting level 10s and doing structured weekly meetings, we've got a health scorecard. We had some great numbers, and we were so over it. We just thought, you just assumed everyone else was ready to go. And no, they didn't know. And like everything, it's a journey. We've got to have a cascading message several different times, several different ways to start to get buy-in to that. It's not a number of having a number. How do you get people to buy into that? How do you gamify it?
Yeah.
You know, we do have a service desk that's offshore plus an onshore service desk team, and we need them to come together and be a team. So, you know, we've got an MVP for the month, and there's a way that that's been delivered so that there's a board that goes up and that people are aware of. And it's a combination of those elements. So you've got a level 3, level 2 and level 1 tickets. So they've got different weightings, for example, because they take different skill sets in different time. And so a couple of months ago, At the death, we had 3 people vying for MVP of the month, which was wonderful. And that's when we realised we had buy-in. And they're on the phone and they're ringing people because to see a positive survey would give them great bonus points. So all of a sudden, instead of getting 0 to 1 per person on the service desk, we had people getting 12, 15, 18.
Wow.
They were ringing people and saying, give me a positive CSAT. It was brilliant.
But
And what
it's
a great
great.
way to engage with the customer.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say that. It sounds like you've encouraged that conversation with the customer.
Yeah.
Which is
Well, thank
fabulous.
you. And look, that's a retail background. I do come from retail. That was my bread and butter back in the 80s and the 90s. And customer service was drilled into us. And I think that there is a missing piece in what we deliver. And especially as we go forward with AI and automation and where we're headed to around consultative and adaptive of our model, customer service first. It creates raving fans.
I agree.
2 ears, listen, what do you need? What do you need from us? Talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't rely on automation and things to go, did we fix your problem? Have you done the thing? Oh, we've got your
Yeah.
ticket. We've done the
Yeah.
thing.
Connecting
People are
with
still
the
human. You
customer.
need to connect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's been amazing to hear that journey that you've been on, like from that retail store at Chermside, the way that you're now starting to think about the modern MSP and what that looks like, but you've really held true and brought those key focus areas of value and customer service in everything that you do. And I'm really excited to see where your business goes and how you've been able to overlay that with the operational excellence that you brought through. So I think the insights that you've shared today have been super powerful for all of our listeners to understand, where they can take their business. So if any of our listeners or there's customers out there that would like to get in touch and chat further with you, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Well, you can ring my mobile, 0412 017 391. We're sales first, but customer service.
I think that's amazing. Look, I'm on the phone all the time talking to people, and I often joke that my firstborn Lucy, the first words that were going to come out of her mouth was my mobile phone number, because she's heard it so many times when I've left messages for people.
But that's the thing. Like, I say to all the guys at work, be on the phone, talk. You're absolutely welcome to email us. You're absolutely welcome to look at our website, which is corpit.net.au. Version 2 coming really, really, really soon. Looking forward to that. But absolutely willing to help, assist and share. One of the great things we did with our peer group was they gave us a book, The Go-Giver.
Yeah.
And I think we resonate so strongly with the peer group and what we're doing here today, etc. Because what I want to do is to give back as much as we possibly can. And that go-giver attitude is right across everything that we do. So whether you're in the industry with us or looking to get into the industry, or whether you're a customer and you're looking to what next, pick up the phone or drop us an email.
I have to say, you are probably one of the friendliest people that I know. So if you are going to call anyone, then call Darren.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for a wonderful episode, Darren. It was awesome to have you on the other side of the table.
Thank you very much. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks for joining me again for another great interview.
Wonderful. Looking forward to the next one.